What's up, Zelda fans? It's your boy HMK, and it's the Zelda 35th anniversary! That's what I would be saying if Nintendo actually decides to, acknowledge and start the anniversary celebration, because we're still waiting on Mario to die in order for Zelda to get its comeuppance. But thankfully, it seems that Nintendo is really planting the seeds for something huge when it comes to a Zelda blowout that's going to happen this year, 2021, including the release of Skyward Sword HD, an expansion pass to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and more promised information finally when it comes to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. But the big question on everybody's mind is that when is the 35th anniversary celebration going to start this year? There are a couple of theories, some more frightening than the others, but I think we don't have to wait as long as what a lot of people are making it out to be. Let me explain why, but while I have you, be sure to like, favorite, share, and most importantly subscribe to HMK for more awesome Zelda content every week. I've got a couple of theories in tow that you guys are really going to enjoy that's coming very soon. So let's dive directly into the darkness. One of the scariest outlooks on when the 35th anniversary can really start for the Legend of Zelda series this year, especially when tying it to the announcement that we're supposed to get for Breath of the Wild 2, is that a lot of people are assuming that it's going to be around the release, if not after the release of Skyward Sword HD, which right now is currently set for July. The mentality is that Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be the biggest thing that Nintendo's going to want to focus on for the 35th anniversary, which makes a lot of sense given to how much hype this game is generating. But honestly, all things considered, I think that's going to be a very grim outlook on what Nintendo would like to do with the 35th anniversary, because this is the 35th anniversary of Zelda, not the 35th anniversary of Breath of the Wild or the 35th anniversary of Breath of the Wild 2. There's a lot of things happening this year. The 10th anniversary of Skyward Sword, the 4th anniversary of Breath of the Wild, and when it comes to June time, 2 years after that amazing trailer we got for Breath of the Wild 2. And this line of thinking also stems from the notion that Nintendo isn't going to want to cannibalize potential sales for Skyward Sword HD by showing off more information about Breath of the Wild 2 or other huge plans it has in store for Zelda by taking away from the hype of Skyward Sword HD. However, the thing is, we already have so much going on this year when it comes to Zelda, and this is just the beginning. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity DLC, Breath of the Wild 2 news which is promised, and Skyward Sword HD. Skyward Sword HD is a remaster, just like Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD that came before it, which is literally meant to be something to hold us over until Breath of the Wild 2 and possibly set up that game with some awesome goodies. It's not going to be an anchor game for this year, and honestly, with all of the Zelda hype, it really boils down to if this game is going to sell or not, and that's it. Personally, I'm very excited for Skyward Sword HD. But when it comes to what I believe is going to be the true start of the Zelda 35th anniversary celebration, of course we have to consider that we have to wait until Mario's is done, which literally spilled out from last year into the end of March this year. And honestly, by the end of March, which goes into April, the stars are aligning for something big that I feel is going to happen for Zelda around that time, maybe mid-April, early May, maybe even ending of May, leading up to June, E3 time, the summer, for more big announcements because of what we see with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity's DLC expansion pass. The purchase bonus is happening at the end of May, May 28th, 2021, which will give us a new weapon and a new costume for Link. But besides a purchase bonus that's gonna be given to us as soon as we get the expansion pass, they're gonna have to tantalize us with something good when it comes to Wave 1, which is in June, and Wave 2, which is in November. And I feel that a big reveal of what is in store for this pass is going to kick off and encompass the Zelda 35th anniversary by possibly showing us goodies from what we can expect for Breath of the Wild 2, possibly even Skyward Sword HD, and the complete anthology of The Legend of Zelda, really playing on that 35th anniversary hype. Consider it like this, Age of Calamity is already out and about. They really need to convince Zelda fans, Nintendo fans, and Nintendo Switch fans why they should buy this DLC, especially for a Warriors game. And considering that this particular game story is tied directly to the world and style of Breath of the Wild, they only have so much they can really play with in terms of convincing and giving us this DLC, unlike the original Hyrule Warriors, which the sky was the limit. They can literally do whatever they want. Considering that Breath of the Wild 2 news is set for this year, along with the fact that Skyward Sword HD is coming out this year, which has some pretty incredible ties to Breath of the Wild and the fact that Age of Calamity deals with a Breath of the Wild style world. It's all an intricate puzzle that's falling into place by Nintendo that's really gonna bounce and rubber band the hype between these 3 Catalyst titles and more when it comes to them actually celebrating the 35th anniversary of Zelda, which I feel is going to happen in May. And once Mario is out the door, that is when we're gonna get the good stuff. The 35th anniversary logo, we're probably gonna get awesome merch, re-releases of past titles, possibly a Zelda 35 game just like we got Mario 35 on the Switch. And honestly, I think this is just a big domino effect that Nintendo is literally just spinning their wheels and ready to knock over the first domino in order to set up a gigantic release of Breath of the Wild 2. Possibly at the end of this year. You know, there's talk that Skyward Sword HD coming out in July, and the fact that Age of Calamity's DLC is going to wrap out in November could push that out into 2022. But I believe it's just a gigantic plan by Nintendo in order to rejuvenate that sheer amount of hype that Breath of the Wild had back in the day, 2016 going into 2017, that they're going to be trying to re-emulate for 2021 for Breath of the Wild 2. Because when it comes to direct video game sequels, it's always a coin flip to see if the sequel is going to make more or sell less or sell even around the same amount of the previous game. Because Breath of the Wild, whew, that sale count, that's going to be tough to topple. But we can see that Breath of the Wild 2 could probably, you know, overtake that considering the insane install base the Switch has now. And with that in mind, I do believe that May is going to be the time that we should look forward to in terms of a huge block Zelda-wise, in terms of learning more about Skyward Sword HD, possibly have more amiibos, a Loft-doing amiibo, learning more about the expansion pass and how all of this relates to Breath of the Wild 2, and finally possibly getting a name for Breath of the Wild 2, another trailer, and a blowout of information, and a reason why people should play Skyward Sword HD before Breath of the Wild 2. That's gonna be for another video. Can you say Loftwing amiibo support on Breath of the Wild 2? We'll just have to wait and see. Previously, I've had a theory that the purchase bonus for the expansion pass is going to coincide with the announcement of whatever Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be, and is going to be named in terms of having a weapon for Link and a costume for Link based on what we saw in the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. And I would love to have a costume like that, and please Nintendo, don't tell me that's some sort of beta costume. I want it in Breath of the Wild 2 and give it to me in Age of Calamity. And the new weapon for Link could be something like a green glowing empowered Master Sword from the hand that we saw in Breath of the Wild 2's trailer. For a celebration of Zelda that's supposed to encompass 2021, I definitely see them starting around May because, you know, the DLC for Age of Calamity going into the first wave and then going into Skyward Sword releases May, June, July, and then of course whatever announcement we get for Breath of the Wild 2 around E3 time, even though personally I think it's still a little bit hazy if Nintendo's going to be at E3 or not. But I mean, they've always been there, and when they are there, man, things light up. So going off the dual promotion of Age of Calamity and Skyward Sword HD that is going to start in May, this could literally set up Breath of the Wild 2 for some grand announcement. And after June and July, going into November, I can see Nintendo dropping reveals for Breath of the Wild 2 that will coincide with the last wave of Age of Calamity and possibly having the game release after that in December holiday season or possibly early 2022. But it's all about what Nintendo is planning for this huge 35th anniversary. I'm pretty sure at one point in time a Zelda Symphony was planned, but due to the pandemic it could be off the table at this point in time, or it could be back on the table with the right regulations. Regardless, something huge is coming. I know it. Nintendo always likes to plan up all these things and then release them, tell us about them right before it all goes down. But I want to know what you guys think. When do you believe the Zelda 35th anniversary is going to start this year, 2021? And how do you think it's going to go down leading into the news of Breath of the Wild 2? Is it going to be sooner than later, or is it going to be much later? Here's hoping that it's going to be a lot sooner, and I feel it in my bones. But leave a comment in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, favorite, and most importantly subscribe to HMK for more awesome Zelda content every week. Big thanks to my Patreon supporters for making this video happen. If you want to find out how you can support HMK for just $1 a month, check out my Patreon info in the description box below. Alright guys, until the next video, this has been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.